Welcome into the Jordy Culotta Show. Wave your hand out there, baby!
Shout out to the show.
She puts the pinky into the nostril. Man, look at that.
Healthy competition, there's nothing like it.
Y'all grow up. The line's wrapped around the stadium. Different strengths. Mm-hmm. I just lost it too.
It's going to be fun.
You know, we might have a story.
I love what you're doing.
Ogeron wants to take us fishing this afternoon.
Sharif, you play for the bad boys of the SEC, man. We don't apologize to anybody.
A lot of people are saying you're going to be wearing number 7.
I don't really know. I want to.
He look crazy, Bill. Good feet on the old man.
Definitely come back. You know, I love.
We'll be right back with the Jordy Culotta Show. Welcome in to a Tuesday edition of the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. As always, shout out to our crew over at Go, G-E-A-U-X, Chevrolet.com. Get in touch with Go Chevrolet. Easiest way to do it is online. If you're looking for a brand new car, stop in and see them in LaPlace, Louisiana for a used car. You can stop in and see them at Go Express Auto Sales. As always, our phone line is brought to you by Metropolitan Health Group, Real Doctors, Real Solutions. Charlie Harvey and Jason Ramazan. We will talk to Jacques Doucet. Will be in studio with us at 8 o'clock this morning. Looking forward to catching up with JD at 8 a.m. Get his thoughts on Saints back at home, taking on Seattle on Sunday. We'll also talk to him about LSU and Tennessee coming up on Saturday morning. He had a great conversation with Jason Taylor, Mason Taylor's Hall of Fame father of the NFL, was played with the Dolphins and played with the Jets for a year. And we'll talk to him about that, what he learned in that conversation. We'll tell you where to find it as always. That was a part of Jacques Talk, so you can find it on WAFB's YouTube page. Speaking of WAFB, Heather Godin, who is the digital marketing director, gave us an assignment overnight, and only one of us paid attention and completed that assignment. Take one guess who you believe was able to knock the assignment. Oh, look at this. We were asked to wear pink today, and Katie wore pink for all of us. So thank you, Katie. Thank you for bailing us out.
You're welcome.
Shout out to our crew over at WAFB. We are partnered with WAFB on a project that we are bringing to life tomorrow night. We cannot wait to show it to you. Actually, the programming date is set. It's going to be on October 20th. So leading into a Thursday night newscast, you'll watch a Dawn of a Legacy, which is going to be a behind-the-scenes, in-depth look at the Zachary Woodlawn High School football game that is going to air tomorrow night from Baton Rouge on ESPN. Coach David Brewerton and Marcus Randall from respective schools have given myself, WAFB, some of our other partners, full access to their programs over the last 6 weeks, and we have been behind the scenes in team meetings, in coaches meetings, in workouts, in classrooms, in film, in the locker room, all in just behind the scenes with both programs. And we cannot wait to bring this to you, the viewer, and we'll be telling you how to find it, when to find it. It's brought to you by the Bank of Zachary. Our friends over at Bank of Zachary, Mark Marino and his great team, have been so supportive for everything that we're trying to do. In fact, Mark has a little piece of the documentary as he's talking about what Zachary football has meant to the community out there. So we'll be telling you when to find that, but be looking out for it as Dawn of a Legacy, brought to you by Bank of Zachary and Lane Memorial Hospital over there in Zachary.
And I just want to say, like, just watching you behind the scenes doing this has been, like, amazing. Like, your
Yes.
creative role in it and, like, your
Appreciate
interviews
that.
and the
Appreciate
work you put into it. I mean, it's been, like, a super cool project. Like, watching you do it like you've done it a million times before.
No,
It's gonna be
it's been
amazing.
cool. It's been fun to be in this role because it's the first time I've ever been in kind of like a director role of.
It comes very naturally to you, it seems like.
It's an easy product,
Mm-hmm.
right? Louisiana high school football is something that I think a lot of us have been passionate about at some point in our life, whether we played it, followed it, knew people that were involved in it. It's a really cool product that is easy to support, and when you have access to programs like Woodlawn and Zachary, who have players, you know, like they do on each side, that make these events and games almost feel, you know, like a college game. I mean, tomorrow night's atmosphere at Woodlawn will feel, it'll feel like a college football game. There'll be college coaches there. It'll be sold out. It'll be on a nationally televised platform, and we'll have behind the scenes access. So it's
And
awesome.
It's on your birthday.
It is just a Thursday.
It is your birthday.
So we'll be telling you all about that. I appreciate everybody out there being curious about it, supporting it. There is some social media on it that is starting to pop up. One of our very talented photographers, Taylor O'Brien, has been doing some pretty cool stuff, and he just put out a video last night that you can find on our Instagram page. Kind of give you some of the behind-the-scenes look of what's going on. So obviously, today, LSU and Tennessee in the headlines here. We're going to talk some New Orleans Saints with Ross Jackson coming up here in about 20 minutes. We'll get Ross to kind of lay out what's going on since the Saints have gotten back from Seattle, what's going on at the quarterback spot, some injury updates, and look forward to Sunday in Seattle. As far as LSU and Tennessee is concerned, we'll talk about that with Jacques coming up here at 8 a.m. But just something to lead off here and get us talking. I see players-only meeting, and I immediately always think, I kind of always think there's a situation behind the scenes that has spurred a players-only meeting, and it can't be good.
Really?
Right?
It's always bad?
I don't know that for a fact, but I think if you look at the history of players-only meetings, they usually come from discontent.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
it's like, get everybody out of here. Let's talk about what's going on, whether it's in the locker room, on the field, between the quarterbacks and wide receivers. And I believe that it was probably good, honest, open conversation that was probably needed between both sides. But the more I hear Brian Kelly talk, and Katie and I were in the room earlier this week when he was speaking to the press at his press luncheon, and then he'll speak to the SEC media today at the SEC teleconference, which will air this morning. And then he'll wrap up his press duties for game week tomorrow night at his radio show after his final press conference of the week over at the practice facility. The more it feels like he's running out of patience for the passing game not being developed because it's not being given an opportunity, right? I think we talked about kind of the progression of just his emotion on the sideline, right? Like if you're just watching the TV copy of LSU for the last 5 weeks, and that's the only access that you have to the program, is that you're just kind of watching them through each Saturday on television. Well, it's easy to see even through that scope that Brian Kelly has kind of been patient with his quarterback up to a point that Saturday night it kind of intersected of my patience is running thin.
Yeah.
Of it's time now to start making plays in the passing game. And the reason why they're not being made is because of the inability for the quarterback at this point to trust his skill of throwing the ball. He's much more comfortable in just running it rather than putting the ball in the air that potentially could cause something bad to happen, right? The way that he views it, the way that he feels about it. You can sense that in the way that he plays. And honestly, I don't know if you can shake that. I don't know if you can, at least in a week, mentally check that box of, you know what, I'm just going to start taking shots and becoming a gambler, right? Like, that's a total shift in mindset for Jaden Daniels, because it's very obvious when the pass protection breaks down, when he sees something in coverage that he doesn't quite either understand or doesn't like, his first instinct is to just put his head down and run. And for a long time, that has worked for Daniels. That's worked for him. You know, I'd imagine him running around high school fields in California was probably pretty fun to watch, just because he's essentially a tailback once he gets past the line of scrimmage. He's got the type of speed. He's got that type of shake. He's even got that type of vision where he sees the field very well, and he's able to get to open spots, and he's athletic and fast enough where he can outrun people. Now he's gotten to a point in his football life where the people around him are bigger and as fast as he is. And I don't know if he's played, consistent football where, you got defensive linemen, defensive ends that are running 4.4 at 250. I mean, B.J. Ojulari, who sat right there yesterday at 235, ran step for step with an SEC tailback 25 yards down the field. That's freaky. Mm-hmm. Like that's NFL type athleticism that's playing on a college field. And there's a lot of those guys in the league. And Jaden Daniels, I believe, puts more of a premium on protecting the ball, as we said, which is a high priority for any football offense to thrive. I don't care if you're on the 3rd and 4th grade level on a field here locally, or you're an SEC Western Division team like LSU is, or you're an NFC South team like the Saints are. The Saints lead the league in turnovers right now, in giveaways. 14. They're 1-3. No coincidence. They should be 0-4. There's no coincidence there. LSU has really protected the ball against teams that they're physically better than. They're 4-1. They could be 5-0. If they just put the emphasis on protecting the ball for the next 4 weeks, they could be 0-4. Because the teams that are coming in here can score, and you're going to have to keep up. And there's no better get-right game for LSU's passing offense than Tennessee. Tennessee is coming in here ranked 128th in the country in passing yards allowed per Saturday. They're averaging just under 310 yards a game that they're giving up defensively. That's Robbie Ashford looking at a defense and being like, I can't throw for 300. The hell you can't, bro. Like, they're going to break down. They're going to give up bust, and you're going to be able to throw it over the top of them. LSU needs to be looking at this Tennessee game on Saturday, or at least Jaden Daniels does, in my opinion. If anything that came out of the players' meeting, I'm hoping that Daniels was able to get across to the wide receivers of, on Saturday, look at these numbers. These guys cannot guard anybody in this room. They can't guard Malik Neighbors. They can't guard Kayshawn. They can't guard Besh, Brian Thomas, Hilton down the line. Jeray Jenkins can't guard them. So if you're going to get right from a passing standpoint, Saturday's got to be it. And I believe if Jaden Daniels, if the light doesn't come on for him on Saturday, the leash is going to be short. Because Brian Kelly knows that for them to compete and have a chance to win on Saturday, they got to score. They're going to have to score. And LSU's defense, I believe, is top-notch, a top-flight defense that, the program is really building its identity around, and rightfully so. But come Saturday, they're going to be tested like they haven't been tested before, and they're going to give points up. I anticipate them giving scores up. I don't imagine that Tennessee will come in here and hang 50 on LSU, but this defense is going to be stressed at points, 2 points, where they haven't had pressure applied this season. We'll see how they react, but I anticipate they're going to give up some scores. And LSU's offense is going to have to score for LSU to keep this thing competitive, close, going into the fourth quarter, which you can only ask for against a top 10 team coming in, right? I mean, if you're LSU and you're on the back half of the top 25 and you're trying to build momentum into the month of October and to build your program up, these are the games that you got to be competitive in. You don't necessarily have to win it. You don't have to go out there and dominate because of the competitive balance of the matchup. But if you go make this thing 4 quarters and you have an ability at the end of the game to win it, that's all you can really ask for. And I think that the formula to get there is that you're going to have to score. And for them to score on Saturday, they got to take shots. And they got to put it in their playmaker's hand, especially where they have a huge advantage. Tennessee's pass defense is 128th in the country. There's only 130 teams. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're 104 in passing efficiency allowed, 70 in passing explosiveness allowed. I mean, Jaden Daniels, if you're looking at Saturday, you're thinking, if I can't get right this week, I don't know when it's going to happen, because it's not going to happen after this.
Well, did he call the meeting saying, trust me? Like, this is what I'm doing. I need y'all to trust me. Or did he call the meeting saying, like, okay, I need help too? Is he saying, like, we need to make changes? Like, which way does that go for him? Like, what's the end game in that meeting?
I think what he's trying to, I don't know. I haven't talked to anybody in the meeting. I'm just saying of what I believe the meeting was called for is because Jaden Daniels senses the frustration from not only the players, the guys on the field. You can see it when Malik Neighbors ran the crossing route last week and it was behind him. He's running to the sideline with his hands in the air. He's looking back at Jaden Daniels kind of like, come on, man.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like Brian Kelly at one point looked like Notre Dame Brian Kelly when the TV camera found him. Yeah. His face was beet red. His eyes looked like they wanted to pop out of his head because he was yelling at his quarterback, throw the ball. Like, throw the ball. Just put it up in the air and give these guys a 50-50 shot to make a play.
Yeah.
And, you know, one of the quotes that came out yesterday from Jaden Daniels is that I'm going to give guys more of a 50-50 chance to make. So I got to imagine that the players-only meeting was more of that.
Yeah.
Because now Kelly, Denbrock, Sloan have all had a chance to watch film with Jaden Daniels, right? Whether it was Sunday, whether it was Monday morning, whenever it was, they had an opportunity to all sit down and say, all right, everybody take a deep breath, emotions out of the room, all the fans have left the stadium. Look at this. Look at where he's running by himself, or where Kayshawn's one-on-one and he's stemming to the top of the field. Just put it out there. Just throw it out there to the back of the field where only really number 7 in the white jersey has a chance to catch it. And if the defender makes a play, he's going to have to interfere with him. But odds are your guy's better, and he's going to make the play. And if he doesn't, at least you've got the defense thinking, hey, man, I can't start creeping up, right? Like, I can't just come camp out in the box because this guy's no threat to throw it. They may have 2 first-rounders standing on the outside, but they don't use them. If they don't use them this week and they don't put pressure on Tennessee's defense, put pressure on Tennessee's offense that you have to score, right? Because they're going to score. I believe that they're going to get off the bus and score 24 points, at least, right? I mean, they're averaging 50. I'll take half at an SEC road game against a really good defense. So for you to have this thing in the fourth quarter, 1 score, close, competitive, you might have to go back and forth with them for a point in this game. You might have to go score for score. So the way that has to happen is that Daniels has got to start pushing the ball down the field. And if he doesn't, I believe his leash is shorter than we may think. And I'm not advocating for Nussmeier. Like, I'm not saying, here comes the Nuss bus pulling up. I'm just saying that he looks at Nussmeier and he says, he's going to pull the trigger. And he might make some bonehead decisions and he might turn the ball over. But he's going to give our guys, LSU's guys, down the field chances to make plays and change the scoreboard. And on Saturday, you don't have the luxury of playing keep away like you did against Auburn, like you were trying to do against Florida State. Right? I mean, you're going to have to put points up. And Daniels, hopefully, if anything came out of that meeting, I know he said, I'm going to give these receivers more of a 50-50 shot to make plays. It's easy to say that stuff. Once once you snap the ball and chaos is happening in front of your face, and whatever his instinct is, I don't know if he's looking down the field and he sees one person covered and he thinks, oh shit, I got to get out of here. Or if he just says, I'm not turning it over. I don't want to give the ball to the other team, which is a very, very high characteristic of that position. You got to be able to protect the football, but you also, there's risk reward in playing quarterback. And you got to know when to risk it, and you got to know when to protect it. And he understands how to protect it. Now, throw it out there a little bit, bro. Risk it. You know what I mean? I got to imagine Kayshawn, Malik, Jaray Jenkins, Besh, Brian Thomas, John Emery yesterday sitting in that team meeting, that players only meeting, said, yeah, man, like, just give me a shot.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I'm going to bail you out. Mm-hmm. I'm going to make you look good. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, I'm going to pad your numbers for you. Right? And if I don't one time, I'm going to make it happen the next time. Like, don't lose faith just because we make one mistake. Right? Like, the game of one thing I believe in sports, I always tell Jordan this, I always tell my son this. One thing I can guarantee you about sports is that bad shit's going to happen.
Right.
At some point in every game, something bad is going to happen. You're going to drop a ball you should have. You're going to fumble a ball. You're going to miss a tackle you should have. Something bad is going to happen. But can you just forget about it, move on to the next play, and act as if you can't let that play dictate the next 5 plays, or for Jaden Daniels, dictate how he's going to view the game, right? If he makes a mistake early, he can't think, oh shit, I can't throw the ball to the right side of the field anymore because that's where I threw my interception. Forget that. Keep going at him, or just know when to risk it. The risk reward of LSU's offense is not too risky, I mean, there's rewards out there to be had for guys like we've named. The strength of this offense still resides on the outside. And to play in a top 10 matchup at your home stadium where 11 a.m., 7 p.m., 3 a.m., it don't matter. It's going to be buzzing once that thing kicks off. It's going to be a hell of an atmosphere.
It will be. Well,
you gotta give yourself a chance. And it feels like LSU is showing up to this thing, kind of wondering how you're going to be relevant in the fourth quarter. They can be, but the formula of what they've shown up to this point, it feels as if that may not be enough on Saturday just because of the explosive capability that Josh Heupel, Hendon Hooker, arrested Tennessee team coming off of a bye week is pulling into Baton Rouge on Saturday morning with.
Well, hopefully they establish trust in the meeting, and we'll see the evidence of that on Saturday.
No doubt.
Right?
No doubt.
Right,
I believe that.
Yeah, but it just feels like Jaden Daniels is doing what won him the job in the first place. Whenever you make the comparison between Jaden and Nussmeier, it felt like they picked Jaden because of his ability to protect the football and run.
True.
And now you're asking him to do more.
True.
You're asking him to take that next step if LSU wants to do anything.
Oh yeah, he has to evolve
special
into
this season. But if he's not able to do it, I would imagine that there is a world where, hey, if we can't get the balls to the guys that are probably the best players on the team, I know that there's somebody that will. And while we didn't pick him because of his propensity to kind of turn the ball over, we've got to start getting some plays down the field because you can't go into every game down 17 and expect to come back every single time.
Cordell Music says JD's going to go for 350 this weekend in the air. I hope he does. If he does, LSU's going to have a chance to win the game in the fourth quarter. Jeremy Lane says, I'm pulling for Daniels. I just don't think he'll change his ways over the weekend. I'm kind of stuck in the middle of that. I think it's very
change, but just kind of.
It's very difficult to change your
play style,
like your mentality, especially at that position.
Yeah.
That is such a position of pressure just because you touch the ball every play. And if I'm going to change the way I play, then it's really going to change the way that the game flows.
Well, yeah,
change
everyone.
People are kind of stuck in their ways because of the way that I've played up to this point, right? So if I come out and play polarizingly different, then can people
Adjust with me.
keep up to speed, right? I mean, there's going to be some adjustments that come along with it. I think that's why I believe his leash may be a little bit shorter this weekend, but I think it's also a great opportunity for Daniels to look at Kelly and tell him to just throw the leash away. You know, like you wanted to get me going. You wanted to test me, which I believe that Kelly, you know, there is a sense of a mind game here that you play with your quarterback in speaking out publicly to the media like he did on Monday, where he was asked a direct question and he said, no, look, we've got to get better there. You know, like we can't continue on the pace that we are and expect to be competitive. It was the soundbite that we played yesterday, that we talked about yesterday, of Kelly, you know, not encouraging interceptions, but the risk reward, right? You got to know when to risk it. So for him to say that publicly, what do you think those conversations are like privately?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if he's sending a message so, you know, Jacques or Moscona or the Culotta show will tweet out Brian Kelly about, you know, on Jaden Daniels, he's got to get better. Somewhere Jaden Daniels is going to swipe through social media at some point through the next couple of days. He's going to read that. He's going to see it. And Brian Kelly knows it. And Kelly also has the opportunity to, behind closed doors, to just hammer that message home. You know, of it's time, bro. It's time to trust the guys around you. And that's always kind of been the conversation of the LSU quarterback, right? I mean, even when it was Burrow in 2018, right? When he first got here, like, trust the guys around you, man. You got playmakers everywhere. Just spread the ball around. You don't have to go out there and win the game. It's still the same formula at quarterback. You know, like it's not, for as much as they have been unstable at the position over the last decade, it really is just settle in and spread the ball, right? Like, I mean, put the ball in 8's hand, put the ball in 7's hand, put the ball in 80's hand, put the ball in 11, 10, 4. All those guys are athletically better than the guy that's trying to guard them. If they're not one-on-one, somebody is. Because their top 4 cover guys are not as good as LSU's top 4 pass catchers. Just not. The drop-off between the second and third cover guy at the majority of college football schools, really the first and second coverage guy. But in the SEC, you probably got 2 cover guys that you trust. Your third and fourth guy can't guard Besh and Thomas. I promise you. They can't guard them one-on-one. And you may be able to roll coverage to take Kayshawn out of a couple of routes or try and help on Malik, but somebody's open. Somebody is in space. And that's – get it to him. Get it to him, man.
Well, I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. I think it'll be a great atmosphere. This is the game we've always been talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the one.
Yeah. I think they'll be great.
It'll be a great atmosphere, and all you can ask is that it's a one-score game going into the fourth quarter and give yourself a chance. And I think, you know, hey, man, let these guys make plays. LSU potentially could be like a really fun team to watch.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Like if offensively they get moving, because their defense is nasty. You know what I mean? Like they fly around out there. They're gonna be well coached. They're gonna have a really good plan. You know, they're gonna try and take Tennessee's strengths away from them. So if the offense can get moving, you know, if nothing else, I mean, you'll be looking at a fun team to watch. Because I mean, if Besh is out there running around, if Kayshawn's making plays, if the ball's in Malik's hand and in space, I mean, that's fun stuff to watch. You know, it's kind of been watching grass grow, paint dry. You know, and watching LSU's off, like, come on, man. Get these guys going. Get these guys moving.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to switch the conversation up to the New Orleans Saints here for a little bit. We'll get back to LSU when Jacques comes through at 8 a.m. Welcome back, City Cafe, our friends over at City Cafe. Shout out to Squeaky and Cody Miranda over there. Man, the best. We love them over at City Cafe. Over 100 years in business. They're located on O'Neill Lane. They've been out there for a long time. You can find them online at citycafebr.net. That is citycafebr.net, where good friends meet. Get over there. Great food and even better service. Cody Miranda, Squeaky Miranda, the entire team over at City Cafe. Daily lunch specials for you over there. A great spot to watch the game, too. If you're not planning on going out to the game on Saturday, I would recommend going out to City Cafe. The food's going to be fantastic. They got TVs everywhere. The service is fantastic, and it's a great spot to host a work party. If you're looking for a function, they got private rooms available back there that you can rent out. If you need to give a presentation, serve lunch, it's a great spot over there on O'Neill Lane. Stop in, see Squeaky, Cody, the crew. They always got live music over there. Great boiled seafood. Check them out and tell them you heard it right here on the Jordy Culotta Show. CityCafeBR.net. When we come back, one of our favorites, Ross Jackson from Locked On Saints podcast. He'll give us the latest on the black and gold as they return home to New Orleans. They will host the Seattle Seahawks on Sunday. We'll get the latest from RJ next here on the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Southern Eye Center is located at 6859 Jefferson Highway right here in Baton Rouge, has been serving your eyes for over 40 years in the capital region. They offer friendly service in a helpful environment with the highest level of personal care to manage your eye health and vision needs. If you want more information, log online to southerneyecenters.com. That is southerneyecenters.com. Stop in and check out their beautiful office located on Jefferson Highway right here in the capital city. And remember, each time you walk in there and you mention the Jordy Culotta Show, Dr. Ann Shaw and Southern Eye Centers will take 25% off of their fantastic selection of sunglasses. All you got to do is mention the Jordy Culotta Show. Check them out, southerneyecenters.com, and located at 6859 Jefferson Highway.
Looking to book a dumpster but no idea how? We've made it quick and easy for you. Check out our website at moralesrolloffs.com. Let Morales Rolloffs know your desired delivery date, and finally, provide your contact details. To make payment, look out for an email invoice with all your booking details. On delivery day, our driver will notify you through text and email that your dumpster is ready and on the way. Now you know how easy and convenient it is. Call Morales Rolloffs at 225-427-0000 for your dumpster.
Hey Baton Rouge, when traveling through Natchez, Mississippi, whether you need to fill up your vehicle or your belly, stop by Go-Mart and On The Go Deli. Go-Mart has clean restrooms, community coffee, an awesome beer cave, and a great selection of anything you might need on your trip. So stop by Go-Mart at 4 Sergeant Prentice Drive as you're entering Natchez on the left, and visit Tom and Wright Granning and their awesome team at Go-Mart.
We're all from different places and backgrounds. We've each experienced our own versions of life, but in the end, we're all on the same team. I'm part of that team, along with these players in purple and gold.
Kayshawn Buddha, Malik Neighbors, Miles Frazier, Kyron Lacey, Greg Brooks.
Whether on the field or in the courtroom, your team matters.
So join our team. Make a difference. Bet. Let's get it done.
In a wreck, Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys is ready to go to work for you. Come meet your team.
I'm your intake specialist. I coordinate your case and connect you with your attorney and paralegal.
That's us, your legal team.
Here you go.
Thanks. And we'll fight to get you every dollar you deserve.
I'm your settlements and disbursement manager, and I'm here to get you paid on time.
I'm attorney Gordon McKernan. Put our team to work today. Just call us. Get it done.
Do you suffer from chronic dehydration? Are you looking to improve your athletic performance and you need to get over and see our friends over at GoFlow IV? They're located on Jefferson Highway. Easy to find them online at GEAUXFlowIV.com. Make sure and use the promo code Jordy Culotta Show. If you do, they'll take 15% off of your initial visit. Check them out online, GEAUXFlowIV.com.
Hey Baton Rouge, when traveling through Natchez, Mississippi, whether you need to fill up your vehicle or your belly, stop by Go-Mart and On The Go Deli. Go-Mart has clean restrooms, community coffee, an awesome beer cave, and a great selection of anything you might need on your trip. So stop by Go-Mart at 4 Sergeant Prentice Drive as you're entering Natchez on the left, and visit Tom and Wright Granning and their awesome team at Go-Mart.
We've seen the BK takeover stuff from LSU and social media, and really in his short time in Baton Rouge, there's been a lot of people embracing his approach to building this roster. What's it like to recruit alongside him?
Oh, it's been great. Coach has been awesome to me because he lets me, lets me be myself when it comes to recruiting, when it comes to coaching. He lets his coaches coach, lets his coaches recruit. So I have no complaints on that end. And when I need him to get in touch with a kid, he's there for me. The communication line has been great. He's just been nothing but supportive.
Welcome back here to the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Appreciate you being here. Make sure you hit that like button, share button, comment button. Starting off your Tuesday here with us. Remember, our podcasts are always brought back to you by our friends over at RMB Builders. Rhett Bourgeois and his crew. His Instagram's on fire right now. Check out RMB Builders.
That is so good.
Instagram right now. And we go down to the city of New Orleans as our guy, Ross Jackson from Locked On Saints podcast. He's been very busy. He's been traveling all over the place. My man was in London last week, made it back to the States here, and now here to give us a report on the 1-3 Saints up to this point. We will ask Ross if there are rays of sunshine that could be coming through with Seattle in town on Sunday. Ross, it's good to see you, buddy. Good morning. How are you?
Hey, man. Good morning. Glad to be here with you and everyone, as always. Appreciate you having me on.
Damn, that's some good sound coming from RJ.
Oh, man. There you go. See, it's the podcast life. It's the podcast life.
All right. Tell me personally, how was the trip last week? That was a pretty cool assignment, I'd imagine.
Man, yeah, it was phenomenal. It was my first time, not my first time out of the country, but my first time even so much as in Europe and everything. And so it was cool to be able to go and, experience all of that. Spent some time in London, spent some time in Paris, took a little bit of personal time to go out there as well. So it was cool, man. It was a lot of fun to get to see a bunch of stuff that you've heard about your entire life, never got the opportunity to see until then. So it was cool.
Coolest thing you saw?
The Eiffel Tower, man. It's probably so cliche to say that, but it's one of those things that you don't realize how big it really is until you're standing there looking at it. And it's kind of one of those things where you can see it from stop it. But it was there's just nothing really, like the Grand Canyon was probably the only other thing that I've ever looked at like that and have been like, wow, I'm insignificant. So it was cool.
Food any good?
Not in London, but Paris was pretty dope. Yeah. See, the thing about London, if you like Indian food, it was incredible. Oh. That was the way to go with it and everything. But fish and chips and whatever was sorry, it wasn't really what it was made out to be. But Paris, man, the pastries, everything are incredible.
Ross Jackson, Locked On Saints podcast. Subscribe today if you want the latest on the New Orleans Saints. Daily content coming from that podcast that you can depend on every single day. All right, Ross, this is broad, this is open, but I just want to jump in here. Where are you on New Orleans a month into this thing at 1-3? They could easily be 0-4, it feels like, and feels like there's still a lot to figure out with the turnovers and the penalties that they're going through right at this moment.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, this is a good football team right now in terms of its roster, in terms of what's on paper. That's just playing, not as good football as it should be. I'm not going to go so far as to say that they're playing bad football, but they're playing bad football. I mean, and what I mean by that is turnovers, penalties, giving up explosive plays, not being able to finish drives. You're not going to win games that way. So for me, in terms of where I am with this team, what I'm looking for is what does it look like the next week, right? Not about what you do wrong, it's what you do next. And so, we've seen that this team has been able to be a resilient one. We saw them fight back in week one, erasing a 16-point deficit to win that game at Atlanta. And since then, we've seen them at least be in, competition for each of these last three games that they've lost. So can they start to turn it around here against Seattle? This is the week to do it because after this, the schedule gets really, really tough.
Where are they on the health of the quarterback with Jameis Winston? And if he is good to go, do they have a decision to make?
Yeah, DA mentioned on Monday that they were about 24 hours out from knowing exactly where things are with Jameis Winston, or having a better idea, I guess I'll say, of where Jameis Winston is. So it sounds like they're beyond that point. now here as we sit on Wednesday. They have their first practice of the week today, so that'll give us our first real glimpse. If Jameis is out there, if he's not out there, then that's pretty telling in terms of what to expect for the upcoming week. I think that if Jameis Winston is healthy, I could see this team immediately going back to him. I think Andy Dalton was a good distributor in the second half of the game, but still had trouble finishing drives. The Saints still struggled early on in the game. They really only had one successful drive in the first half. So I don't know that there's been enough done that says if Jameis Winston is healthy, that you don't go back to him. I do think, though, that what the Saints found in that game against the Minnesota Vikings in London is the style of offense that they're probably a little bit more suited to run, which is one that's a little bit more conservative, a little bit more meticulous, moves the ball down the field incrementally, and relies on its run game. So I think even if they do move forward with Jameis Winston, once he's healthy, that you'll still see a little bit of a change in this offense.
I was listening to you on Monday morning, and one of the first things you led with was that they need to put Latavius Murray on the active roster immediately because of the reps that he gave you on Sunday. It feels like you hadn't even completed that sentence yet, and Denver had scooped him up onto their active roster. How big of a hit was that for that position and losing him?
Yeah, it's a big hit for the depth of that group. But if you have Alvin Kamara, if you have a healthy Mark Ingram, you're in relatively the same place. Latavius Murray had a great game in London against the Minnesota Vikings, and it's clear that the Saints thought that as well. Nick Underhill over at NewOrleans.football, reporting that according to his sources, the Saints did offer him a contract, but he took a larger opportunity in Denver, because in Denver you have the injury to Javonte Williams. He's out for the season with the ACL, LCL injury. And then Melvin Gordon's got 4 fumbles in 4 games. And so Latavius Murray, who doesn't fumble out, I don't think he's lost a fumble since like 2018 or something like that. And it's not that he hasn't taken reps during that time either. And so, you look at where Latavius Murray is and what he has an opportunity to do over in Denver, it was an obvious choice. So it stinks for the Saints because it would have been nice to sort of have that guy that you saw be really impactful for you. But just a couple weeks ago, we saw Mark Ingram be equally impactful. The difference was a fumble versus a touchdown. And so those are the things that you're going to be keeping a close eye out on, is what happens behind Alvin Kamara at running back moving forward if they felt that Latavius Murray gave them something that they didn't have on the roster, which clearly is the case since they offered him a contract.
Know anything on the status of AK?
Not at this moment. We'll get a better idea later on today. The hope is that he's back. I mean, he's always had these really great games against Seattle, and so it'd be great to have him there in the Superdome as the Saints come back from London this weekend. But we'll get a better idea once we get out to practice later today.
I know Justin Jefferson is elite. He might be the best wide receiver in the league. He looked like that on Sunday. Where is Marshawn? I have not seen Marshawn Lattimore be worked like that since it feels like a long time. What did you make of that performance on Sunday?
Yeah, look, Justin Jefferson is the highlight of that performance. He was absolutely outstanding all throughout the game, winning off the line of scrimmage, and honestly should have a bigger game. He had 2 drops in this that saved some numbers against Marshawn Lattimore, but also, risked Justin Jefferson probably be having 2 touchdowns total in the game and probably being over 160 receiving yards as opposed to 147, though I don't think he's complaining about 147 receiving yards in the game against Marshawn Lattimore. I think when you look at Marshawn Lattimore in this one, I don't carry a lot of concern out of this game. There's maybe 4 or 5 wide receivers in the NFL that can do what Justin Jefferson does off the line of scrimmage. The issue for Marshawn Lattimore is that one of them is just a few games away in Devontae Adams once the Las Vegas Raiders come to town. So that will be a big matchup to watch. And then depending upon how quickly DeAndre Hopkins is when he makes his return on the Thursday night game against the New Orleans Saints, or is eligible to return from his 6-game suspension, he could be one of those guys too. So I don't look at this as something that you take away long-lasting kind of opinion on when it comes to Marshawn Lattimore, because again, there's only 4 or 5 receivers that can do off the line of scrimmage what Justin Jefferson does, but something to watch because Marshawn Lattimore does have a few of those guys still on the way. But he's fared well against those guys in the past, including Devontae Adams just last year.
I thought the call on Lattimore when him and Thielen were going back and forth was garbage. The call on Matthew, illegal hand to the face, was even worse. But facts are, they are a highly penalized team. We can debate on a couple of calls. What do you accredit this to? Is this first-year coach? Is this missing Sean Payton? Why are they turning the ball over? Why are they making mistakes at the rate that they are a month into the season, in your opinion?
Yeah, it's an interesting thing because I think that it's a multi-layer issue. I mean, I think some of it is changes of cadence on the line of scrimmage. But even before Andy Dalton came in, they were still dealing with false start penalties and illegal shift penalties, these kind of procedural pre-snap issues and things like that. So some of that is getting in and out of the huddle sometimes. Some of it is, potentially a lack of clarity or understanding across the way. Maybe something changed with the new coaching staff coming in on the offensive line, and maybe that has a little bit of an impact in terms of what the team is looking for, what the team is listening for off the line of scrimmage, things like that. So there's like kind of a lot of levels here, a lot of layers that you can peel back and say, all right, let's see what's going on here. Let's see what's going on here. But I think that the thing that's most important is execution and attention to detail. And you're hearing that a lot from these New Orleans Saints players. Eric McCoy spoke with us yesterday. He harped on attention to detail. And I think that that's where sort of the category that, effectively, especially the pre-snap penalties really fall into. Because, you can, kind of go back and forth about if some of the defensive calls were or weren't, but you can't dispute the false start penalties, the illegal shift penalties, the illegal man downfield penalties, things like that. Like those are things that the team simply has to get cleaned up. And that's one of the reasons why they're leading the NFL in penalties right now, not because of the penalties that are being called against them that are arguable, but the ones that are oblivious, the ones that are obvious. And those are the ones that they're trying to get fixed.
And that's also why at 1-3, they still feel close, right? Because it's like you clean up some of that stuff, man, and you feel like 3-1, 2-2 is definitely in the conversation at this point.
Yeah, I mean, especially 2-2 is not that hard to consider, especially after just this past game.
Yeah,
I mean, you come down to a 61-yard field goal, you fight yourself all the way down to that when you've got 24 seconds left. I mean, there was something going for this New Orleans Saints team, especially in the second half. But you look at the scoring drives that were aided by penalties. You look at the special teams execution, which has been an issue for this team so far this year as well. That's probably another one of those things that I would put up there along with turnovers and penalties and explosive plays being given up is special teams play. The punt coverage has not been the punt coverage that we're used to seeing in New Orleans. The return game hasn't been the return game we're used to seeing. And then, of course, the fake punt that was allotted by, it was DeMarcus Fields was the guy in coverage there. And they just went and, pushed him off the practice squad. And now they've got Chris Harris in the building, So I think that the Saints are in a situation here to where they have a lot of different things to clean up. But if they get them cleaned up, which are all fixable things, they're all diagnosable, fixable things, then they're going to be in a much better situation. The issue is how much time do they have left to get that done and still have relevance within the conference by the time that it's all said and done.
One thing is for sure, they nailed their first round pick. I mean, Olave is smooth, man. How good is this kid?
He's outstanding. And I think the thing about him that makes him so special, Jordy, is the fact that you watch him make veteran plays in his fourth game in the NFL. Yeah. That's the thing that I think is so incredible about him, is that he's not just somebody that is what everybody thought he was, which is sort of this downfield, field stretching, deep ball guy. He's not just that. He's a 3-level threat at, all over the field. He's running crossing routes for you. He's bailing quarterbacks out when they have pressure. He understands where to move in scramble drills. He's getting open over the middle of the field. He's adjusting his routes based upon what the defense is giving him or taking away from him. He's doing all the things that you see a veteran wide receiver do 4 or 5 years down the road. Some receivers take time to do it. I mean, look at Andy Isabella, who was that guy in college and then got to the NFL, and he just got waived by the Arizona Cardinals without ever really making any kind of a splash. Like, that's not out of the ordinary for wide receivers in the NFL. But what Chris Olave is doing is unique for sure.
Seattle just hung 48 on Detroit to get the win there. They're 2-2. That's a surprising 2-2 team, right? What do you make of Seattle coming into town?
Yeah, they're a pesky team. That's what one of the things that I've always kind of said about them since the opening game against Denver, that win against their former sweetheart and Sierra's husband. And so I think that you look at all the different ways that the Seattle team has found to remain competitive. I mean, Tariq Woolen looks like the real deal. Geno Smith is playing like he's maybe 7-8 years younger in the NFL. I mean, they've been outstanding, and of course they have weapons still on that team. Kenneth Walker III is a very talented young back. You've got who I know has dealt with some things, but even outside of that, you have guys like DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. That's still one of the better wide receiver tandems in the NFL, and they're starting to find ways to sort of put it together. While they scored 48 points to the Detroit Lions, they also gave up more than 40 points to the Detroit Lions,
Right.
who are also a bit of a pesky kind of
They
surprising team as well. So, I think that's where I would classify them as a team that you definitely can't sleep on coming to New Orleans next weekend.
My man Campbell's offense is scoring better than anyone in the league. He's also giving up more points than anyone in the league. So Detroit is they're trying to figure it out right now.
It's incredible 2014 through 16 New Orleans Saints football up in Detroit right now.
It is. Ross, great work as always, man. Good to see you back home in the States. We will talk again soon.
Absolutely, guys. Thanks so much for having me on, Jordy. Always a pleasure to speak with you. Thanks, everybody over at the studio. Appreciate y'all.
All right, man. See you. There he is, Ross Jackson from Locked On Saints podcast. If you have not listened, if you have not subscribed, what in the hell are you doing, man? Follow him on Twitter at Ross Jackson Nola as well. We will be back with more here. We got 10 minutes until Jacques gets here. Jacques will be here talking more LSU. We will switch the conversation over to a Saturday morning kickoff between LSU and the Volunteers. His conversation with Jason Taylor, former standout for the Miami Dolphins, NFL Hall of Famer. We will ask him what he learned there and what he anticipates here with this LSU offense a day after a players-only meeting between the quarterback and wide receivers, what he anticipates coming out of that conversation. Katie, tell them about Dead Soxy.
Dead Soxy. Use the code Jordy and get up to 30% off your order. Get those Christmas orders in. You can do custom orders. You can do corporate orders. They give huge discounts for that. Go online. Huge. Huge, like the Eiffel Tower. Go online. Have them help you with the design for a corporate gift. It's a really great idea, but use the code Jordy, get up to 30% off, and get your game day socks.
Bigger than I thought it was going to be.
SOXY.
That's too cold out. Should see it in the summer.
We'll be back with more of the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Do you suffer from chronic dehydration? Are you looking to improve your athletic performance and you need to get over and see our friends over at GoFlow IV? They're located on Jefferson Highway. Easy to find them online at GEAUXFlowIV.com. Make sure and use the promo code Jordy Culotta Show. If you do, they'll take 15% off of your initial visit. Check them out online, GEAUXFlowIV.com.
Looking to book a dumpster but no idea how? We've made it quick and easy for you. Check out our website at moralesrolloffs.com. Let Morales Roll-Offs know your desired delivery date, and finally, provide your contact details. To make payment, look out for an email invoice with all your booking details. On delivery day, our driver will notify you through text and email that your dumpster is ready and on the way. Now you know how easy and convenient it is. Call Morales Roll-Offs at 225-427-0000 for your dumpster.
Hey Baton Rouge, when traveling through Natchez, Mississippi, whether you need to fill up your vehicle or your belly, stop by Go-Mart and On The Go Deli. Go-Mart has clean restrooms, community coffee, an awesome beer cave, and a great selection of anything you might need on your trip. So stop by Go-Mart at 4 Sergeant Prentice Drive as you're entering Natchez on the left, and visit Tom and Wright Granning and their awesome team at Go-Mart.
Don't let the name fool you. Men's Total Health has offerings for the ladies, too. Guys, is your wife or partner suffering from urinary incontinence, low sexual desire, or pain during sex? Then the O-Shot might be for her. Don't let it scare you. It's totally natural. It's PRP. And Mike Roach and the crew at Men's Total Health will make you as comfortable as you can be. Contact me for more information, Katie at jordyculotta.show.com, and I'm happy to tell you everything that Men's Total Health has to offer for the ladies.
Welcome back here to the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Taking your voicemails, taking your phone calls here once we wrap up with JD, Jacques Doucet, every Wednesday in studio with us. Always love our conversation with our friend from WAFB. Off today?
I am.
Back on the desk tomorrow as we will be gearing up for LSU, Tennessee, an 11 a.m. kick where everybody is being asked to wear pink. In fact, we were asked to wear pink on this show this morning by Heather Godin, who is digital director over at WAFB. And not only did I buck authority, but Jacques has too, so it makes me feel really good because Jacques got no pink on. And Katie has done it all for us. Jacques, good morning. How are you, buddy?
Good morning. Steve Schneider and I will be wearing pink on Friday, though.
There you go.
For Sportsline.
Get that out of the way real quick. All right, Jacques, 11 a.m. kick. First thing you saw when you saw it, what'd you think?
I was surprised. I did not think that LSU and Tennessee would sink to that level. I thought that for sure it'd be at 2:30 in the afternoon or at night. Of course, I don't think you can have a game compete with the CBS game, but the SEC Network has a game at that time. But I think CBS throughout the years has put a lot of emphasis on having the number one team in the country, the number 2 ranked team in the country. And my thoughts are, okay, I realize that the Nick Saban, Jimbo Fisher food fight in the offseason was a big deal, but how long can we talk about this over a 3.5, 4-hour game when the game's probably going to be out of hand in the first quarter?
24-point spread.
24-point spread. And then I think, Auburn's going to get nailed to the cross in Athens.
Yes, they are.
Against Georgia. And so I realize that Georgia is the defending national champion and all of that. But if I'm a casual viewer, I don't know how long I'm going to watch that. And if I'm CBS and I'm saying this is our big doubleheader day, I'm not sure if what I'm serving up is all that great.
Right.
So Tennessee and LSU don't play that often. This is Tennessee's first trip to Tiger Stadium in 12 years. I think that there's so much good stuff there. But there is the factor of, okay, all the people watching ESPN College Game Day are going to go immediately into that game, LSU and Tennessee. So,
I agree, and the television business clearly more than anybody in this room. And I think I've always believed in television. You always want to build your audience for your event. If the primetime event is at 7:00, you want to hold your audience from that 2:30 game, right? People are going to be checking out of Athens. First quarter, second quarter, definitely by halftime. I feel like that LSU Tennessee is going to be a 4-quarter game. If nothing else, from a television standpoint, it keeps you, locked into it, right? I thought that they swung and missed severely here. What do you expect on Saturday morning, though? What do you expect the atmosphere to be?
I think the fans are going to show up.
I do, too.
I think everyone points to last year's Florida game as a case where we thought, coming off that awful Kentucky game, that no one was going to show up, and actually a much bigger crowd showed up, and LSU obviously is trending in a much different direction this time around. I think Tennessee fans want to come to the game. So if some LSU fans are saying it's too early or whatnot, Tennessee fans are going to buy those tickets. So I would imagine it's going to be a very big crowd, a very spirited crowd. I think fans will get their arms around it. I talked to Cody Worsham yesterday at LSU, and he talked about the challenges of an 11 a.m. kick. It's kind of like everyone going to church at once, There's no tailgating, really. They're going to open, I think, the parking lot's up at 5 a.m. or something like that.
That's
so if you're an
awesome.
early riser or just want to, the kids from Tigerland just want to walk over from the night before or whatever. But
what a college night.
Nobody from Louisiana
What a night.
has a problem starting to drink early
What a
and
night.
tailgate early. I
But-
think it'll be fine.
Yeah, I've always joked that nothing fills up quicker than Christ the King 5 minutes before Mass and 5 minutes after. You go like, no one's coming to church today, and then they're lined up in the back. This is kind of be the same thing. Everyone's gonna be driving in at once probably, and then he said concessions are gonna be a challenge too because people typically eat and drink throughout the day. They're not as hungry when they go to the stadium. In this case, everyone maybe is gonna be hungry going to the stadium, so the concession lines and whatnot. But anyway, this is my favorite part of the year. I mean, I love college football more than anything. And as great as the postseason is, and it's the most important to me, October weather, SEC matchups, college campuses, college bands, tailgating, this is the best. This is A+.
I agree. I think that even looking at this Saturday back when we were like at SEC Media Days and even long ago thinking like this is going to be a cool day. I mean, LSU, Tennessee, first Saturday in October, college football. I mean, the weather's going to be right. There's going to be people. I think it's going to be a beautiful game day. And what I I love about the 11 o'clock game that's not necessarily talked about is that you're going to get it on a good weather day. You get out of the game at like 2 o'clock on Saturday, right? I mean, like usually the tailgating post-game of people watching football, music up, dancing with the weather, going like it should be on Saturday is usually a sneaky good time.
Well, you'd be surprised how many people, and they don't say it publicly because they know they're going to get shot down, will tell you that who work at LSU and maybe even players that we enjoy the early game because we get to go spend time with our families, we get to go eat dinner, we get to go watch other games on TV that night and whatnot. So I've heard that a million times.
I agree.
That's a good point.
You hear players only meeting. What is your reaction?
That's a cliche thing sometimes, that's an attention grabber and whatnot. It was Jaden Daniels and the wide receivers, right? Had a meeting. Yeah. Last night we interviewed Jaden Daniels. We interviewed Malik Neighbors. Both of them said right off the bat, point blank, 21 points is not going to get it done this week. We realize we have to score more. Jaden Daniels says, I can make every throw. I just need to be confident and let it rip, just like what Brian Kelly said on Monday. And so I like a coach who on Monday says, hey, look, we won. I'm happy about it, but this isn't going to get it done.
Yeah.
How many times during the Les Miles era, in particular in 2014 and 2015, when we're going to win 8 or 9 of the 12 games we played. We won today. It's good enough. Don't ask any questions. Move on. But we're like, hey, when you play Alabama or when you play this team, that's 100 when they were just struggling with Anthony Jennings and Brandon Harris to get to 100 yards passing, to say, hey, look, when you play Alabama, it's not going to work. And for this coach to say, hey, look, we're about to go into an onslaught of top 10 teams or very good teams, and 85 yards passing ain't going to cut it. If I'm an LSU fan, I like to hear that from the head coach. He's being proactive. He's looking ahead. So,
how Kelly's pulling the strings on these quarterbacks now. Do you believe the leash is shorter for Daniels this weekend because they need to make plays down the field? Not saying that Nussmeier's the answer. Gives you a better chance of just making a downfield play.
Yeah, I mean, the LSU wide receivers were equal opportunity droppers at Auburn. I mean, Nussmeier had 2 dropped, Booty a quick out, and then Brian Thomas dropped one on the sideline. After this game, you're halfway through the regular season.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
That is crazy.
It's nuts, man.
How did this
6
happen?
games. Yeah. we can't wait, and then it just flies by. But you kind of are what you are after this game. You got a big enough sample size to say this is who we are and whatnot. And Jaden Daniels has not thrown an interception. I like what Charles Hannegriff said. To make an omelet, you got to break some eggs, And so at some point, I don't want to say you need to throw a pick, but that's what kind of Brian Kelly was getting at. We need to pull the trigger. We need to get the ball down the field. You and I talked about all during the preseason. What were the 2 most talented spots on this team? Defensive line and wide receiver.
Yep.
And the wide receivers aren't being utilized, and when they are, they're dropping the ball.
And with the injury to Mason Smith, I would put the wide receivers as talented of a unit now. I had the defensive line slightly above them. I think now they're neck and neck. I mean, you got to get those guys going. It'd be like leaving B.J. Ojolari out of the defensive game plan. Right. I mean, like, what are you going to do?
And let me ask you this, Jordy. So I was having this conversation, and I was just thinking out loud. We were driving back from Alabama, and I'm like, what's the deal with Kayshawn? Has he lost a step since the injury? Are they not utilizing him properly? Is he getting double teamed? And I'm thinking back to last year. Where and I had a conversation with somebody on campus yesterday about this. Where was Kayshawn at his best? Where is he at his best? I'm thinking back to UCLA last year, Mississippi State. That quick post hit him, and he dusted the defense.
Yards after catch.
Yes. Ole Miss game, last game of 2020. They shallow crossed them to death. Max Johnson just throwing 5-yard passes that turn into 30-yard gains or longer. Where is that? Mm-hmm. They're not throwing to him across the middle. Everything is out routes. Everything is, to the sideline, to the boundary. And so I don't know anything about football, but I know that.
I wondered about the step too. I did. But watch the jet sweep against Southern and watch the reverse against Auburn on Saturday. He's smooth. I mean, he's still gliding when he runs. He jumped over that defender in the middle of the field on Saturday. People have no idea how difficult and the nuts it takes to do that in the middle of a college football field without thinking I'm going to get my head taken off. He's moving like Kayshawn. He still moves like that. I agree with you. I think in the first 15 plays, he's got to have 3 scripted. Whether it's just hand it to him on a jet sweep, throw him that quick slant. But he's yards after catch guy, man.
Yeah.
He is an explosive guy. He's not running past you and catching bombs. He's catching it in front of you, making you miss, and taking it to the house. I think that's why Jaden Daniels, it's an easy pass. It's a play action fake, waggle out, dump it to him. It's not as if you got to take a 5-step drop and wait on him to break before you throw it.
Yeah.
So I that's why I believe that the first 15 has to be a little bit more creative of getting them engaged, and also putting your quarterback in a comfortable spot.
Yeah, and I think Mason Taylor can catch 40, 50 passes at some point in his career.
Right.
But there's been something about these two all year where it's like I'm watching the press box. It's like he's open, the play's there, and the timing is just slightly off, and I don't know if this past week, if it's the first road game they played this year, the crowd, they were all sped up and just a little bit off the mark or whatever. And I got to tell you, man, when they're driving to make it 21-0, and I think they are, I think the roof's about to cave in on LSU, and this thing is just going to be a slaughter. And they held the field goal there, and they kind of got their feet under them, and then B.J. Ojolari makes the play. Jay Ward said last night he wasn't even sure if the ball was live. He's like, well, I'm gonna scoop it up and run in. This is what I've been taught, and that was a huge play in the game. But man, they were really flirting with getting blown out the other night, and they won the game.
Speaking of Mason Taylor, you had a really cool conversation with his dad, NFL Hall of Famer Jason Taylor, who spent, I believe, 14 seasons in the league, 13 with Miami, 1 with New York, the Jets. And was a first ballot Hall of Famer. Would you learn?
Yeah, I taped that in August. It was like right before the season. We did a feature on Mason, and was able to talk to him and just the whole family. Zach Thomas being the uncle, and I think Zach Thomas's brother was also a linebacker at Texas Tech, who's now like in his 50s, winning decathlons and stuff. Still. And the mom, she's I'm just a retired PE teacher, but she's cutting backflips and stuff. I mean, they're all athletic. So I joked with Jason Taylor because I remembered when the Saints were playing in Tiger Stadium during the Katrina year, and the Dolphins came down when Nick Saban was the head coach.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And Jason Taylor complaining about the LSU visiting locker room was a dungeon and it's a dump, and and all this. And I asked him about that. He laughed. He said, "Yeah, man, I came down there thinking national champion, great facilities, and man, that place was a dump." But he goes, "You know what? If I'm LSU, I'll keep it that way. Go Tigers." Yeah. So I told him, I said, "Yeah, it's been 17 years. I don't think it's changed any." So, but yeah,
God, those games were so weird. Those Saints games in Tiger Stadium were so strange, man.
I remember Steve Caparata and me going to it was the regular season finale, Jake Delhomme and the Carolina Panthers, and they're firing off pyrotechnics in the daytime. It looks so stupid, It's like you need darkness or you need to be in the dome for it to look.
Yeah.
And there were like 10,000 people there.
There's
and
nobody there.
I can't imagine that.
Benson was pissed off at the fans.
The
fans were pissed off at him.
I never forget, he punched the WWL camera.
That's right.
Lee Zerk at the time was doing sports, and Benson hit the camera.
No way.
You a prick, that's what you are.
Yeah, that's right. I remember that. And as he's walking up, people are like, boo, throwing shit at him.
Why did he hit the camera?
Well, I mean, to me, it's one of the more fascinating turns. I mean, Tom Benson in the 80s.
Unreal.
Was real popular. Benson Boogie.
That's where he's dancing with the umbrella.
Yeah.
And then somewhere in the 90s into the early 2000s, it was threatening to move the team.
He was flirting with San Antonio a lot.
San Antonio was really flirting with the Saints, too. Because they had those home games. They were selling it out.
That's right.
Just like Oklahoma City with the Hornets at the time. And Oklahoma City got a franchise. San Antonio was packing it out for the Saints. But Benson wanted a new stadium, and people were tired of him, and they weren't winning. And the whole Aaron Brooks, Jim Haslett thing just exhausted people. And then a year later, I never forget, I was in the Superdome. The Saints are about to play the Eagles, a playoff game, and Benson's like out of a limo, like waving at the crowd. And Tom Benson. I mean, it took a huge turn in 1 year.
He turned into one of the most beloved figures in the history of the city. I think Gale has a lot to do with that. But it was even before Gale, because that run that he came out of, I didn't think it was recoverable. I mean, there were people that wanted his ass in Tiger Stadium. I mean, because he was threatening to leave at Katrina.
And the Saints were being subsidized by the state.
Right.
Mike Foster, the governor at the time, was giving the Saints $12 million a year or something. They were like, we're a small market team. We can't compete. We need more money.
Right.
And so it was a whole, man.
It was, man.
I mean, and that's the days of, Energy having to buy the final 4,000 tickets
right.
to avoid the blackouts.
The blackout. Yeah, you couldn't watch the Saints in Baton Rouge on some Sundays. It was nuts, man.
Drafted Reggie Bush, and the whole thing just changed.
Yeah. Did you hear Bush was on he was on somebody's podcast the other day telling the story about draft day when his agent, Joel Siegel, was on the phone with he was trying to get Sean Payton on the phone because he wanted to tell Payton not to draft Reggie Bush. He wanted to go to New York. And he had been trying to get in touch with Payton all day. They wouldn't call him back, wouldn't call him back. Finally, about 20 minutes before the draft, Siegel finally gets in, and Payton, and he says, hey, man, this is Reggie Bush's agent, Joel Siegel. I'm just telling you that Reggie does not want to go to New Orleans. He wants to go to New York. Sean Payton goes, fuck you. Click. 20 minutes later, he walks the draft card up to the thing. And Reggie Bush went on to say, he said, it was the best experience of my life, going to New Orleans. I didn't know at the time. I was coming from L.A. I was this big deal. I was this huge marketing opportunity for so many people. New York made sense, but what I really needed was New Orleans. I needed Sean Payton in my life to tell me, bro, you ain't that good.
Did he live up to expectations? That was impossible. He never was going to. But 100 out of 100 times, you draft Reggie Bush again.
100.
He sold out the building. I mean, as important as Drew Brees was, Reggie Bush made the Saints cool. The whole Kardashian thing was going on. A lot of people were like, hey, the Saints, And that first year, his rookie year, I think he caught like 90 passes. And it was always like 3rd and 3, 3rd and 5. Drew Brees hit Reggie Bush for 5-10 yards. And, he had some electric moments with the Saints. He really did.
It was on I Am Athlete with Ryan Clark. And Bush is telling the story about drafting and Sean Payton. But, he was – for the role that has now been developed really in the Saints offense, whether it was him, Sproles, even who was my boy out of Clemson, C.J. Spiller, that they tried to pay for a year. Alvin Kamara is obviously the best at it. But to me, Reggie was always kind of the guy that was, they had to find that piece in the offense he was just a mismatch. He was such a mismatch. I mean, if you think about the NFC Championship game in 2006, first play of the third quarter, they isolate him on a linebacker, and he cuts the somersault into the end zone and starts doing that dance. I mean, that was vintage Bush because there was one or two people on the other side that couldn't guard him. That just couldn't keep up with him.
Yeah, the Arizona Cardinals playoff game, divisional playoff game. Yeah.
When he ran out with the bat.
He ran in front of Deuce. Deuce was supposed to go first. Reggie ran in front. But he broke that long touchdown run. Did he have a punt return too?
A punt return.
Touchdown.
Punt return that day. That was probably the best game he played as a Saint.
That or the Vikings game.
The Vikings Monday night game, which they lost.
They had lost. He had 2 punt returns that night, didn't he?
Yeah, two punt returns for a touchdown.
And I remember being in the Dome, his first NFL, because if you remember, he was making all types of plays like the first 5 or 6 weeks of the season. He never scored a touchdown his rookie year. And he'd get the ball to the 2, and they'd give it to Deuce, and Deuce would maul it in, and they'd throw one to Colston. You know what I mean? They could never get him in the end zone, and they were standing back waiting on a punt against Tampa Bay, and the whole Dome is Reggie, and he turns the corner, and it was mayhem. I mean, it was. People were throwing drinks on the field. They were playing When the Saints Come March. People were dancing in the aisles. I mean, it was like our son has grown up. You know, I mean, it was a cool moment in that first year of the Saints being back.
The 2006 Saints team is probably, one of the most fun teams I've ever covered. Everything was fresh and new. Everything was exciting. We weren't spoiled.
Right.
And
they were a very likable group.
Yeah. I mean, Drew Brees, when he came in, it was like Drew Brees, Aaron Brooks at the time. They were kind of the same guy. I always could compare it to like Jared DiNardo and Nick Saban. They kind of had the same, but this guy's going to be a lot better. And that Sunday night game against the Cowboys, too. I remember that was like they threw Reggie a little screen pass, and he danced his way all the way in, and Devery caught a ball and rolled into the end zone, and they just beat the hell out of the Cowboys on Sunday Night Football. The whole season was just
incredible.
A blast.
It was incredible. It was. I mean, that Philly playoff game that night.
Yeah, and they played Philly in the regular season. Was a field goal at the gun. Carney field goal kicker. Man, I didn't expect to be talking about the 2006 Saints, but I don't have any problem doing it.
Me either, man. I could go down. I could spend all day on that team because it was just. Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, it was. What are we watching?
Yeah.
The Saints are good. The Saints are going to the NFC Championship.
When Sean Payton retired, I wish I could have been at his press conference because the one thing I wanted to ask him, when they beat Philadelphia in the regular season, he said, the Eagles are who we're striving to be. We want to be like the Eagles.
Andy
Reid, because they'd made the NFC Championship game.
They were so consistent.
Yeah,
3 straight times or something like that.
Yeah.
Went to the Super Bowl, lost, but, they were just down. And then, in the beginning it was, man, we beat Cleveland first game. Man, we beat we're going to the playoffs. And then by the end it was, we didn't get that number 1 seed.
Right.
We didn't make it to the Super Bowl.
Right.
That's how you become a victim of your own, your success.
Absolutely.
So,
Jacques, what are days off for you like in football season? Do you check out of this thing?
I have no life. I just work on this stuff all the time. Everyone knows that. But no, it's a dream job. This week I'm off today and tomorrow, but I'm working on some nostalgia stuff with LSU Tennessee. I'm thinking about the rise of LSU football and how much of it is connected with Tennessee. I think that the first big win of the Nick Saban era that kind of ushered in these next 2 decades was against Tennessee in Tiger Stadium. And I was thinking about today, can you imagine losing to UAB 1 week and then Tiger Stadium being completely full the next week? Does that happen today? I don't think so.
No.
And then, Rohan Davey, the first drive, the pocket breaks down and Rohan's on a knee brace and he scrambles out of the pocket and runs for 31 yards and the place just blew up like, okay, we're here. We're here to throw some punches today. And I interviewed Robert Royal, too, who caught the touchdown. What a gutsy call. First play of overtime. First down. You're throwing the ball across the middle.
In the middle
of the field to Robert Royal.
And he throws it in double coverage.
It was tight.
I mean, it is double. The ball floats from Rowe's hand. Like he lets it go. If you pull it up, it's the first play when he throws, the ball is just in the air. It's just floating. It's not on a dime. It's not, and it just falls into Robert Royal's gut.
It's called a snake route, he said. He said, Royal goes to the outside and he breaks it to the inside. And Rohan said, I had to stare this guy, I had to stare the safety that way and then, hit it across the middle and did. And, Damian James made 2 breakups in overtime. Right. And Rohan said on the last play of the game when LSU's wrapped it up, he said this Tennessee wide receiver just gets mushed. Fans just push him underground. And then
it is a scary rush the field sight. Because as soon as Damian James knocks the ball down, if there would have been a penalty on that play, they're screwed. The officials would not have been able to clear the field because as soon as the ball hits the ground, it is a flood of people onto. There are players that are getting swallowed up. A friend of mine broke his ankle in that rush. Frank Streva.
Oh my God!
He's
really?
on the ESPN cut. There's a camera staring at Saban for the last play of the game. Just eyes on Saban.
And he was excited.
He threw his headset off and threw it up and ran across the field.
But
that was the early biggest win of the Saban era.
And I remember Saban on Monday saying, look, I'm excited we won the game. Right. We don't need to rush the field and tear down the goalpost and do all that stuff,
Even the press was showing up early for the press conference we're here, and he was everybody chill out.
Yeah.
You ain't done shit.
Tennessee was number 13 in the country. They'd already lost to Florida, I think. They'd already lost a game.
Yeah.
The Florida
game. They still
game.
had the brand.
Right. They were in their heyday.
They were in the national championship the year before.
Yeah. They were in their heyday, still at the time and everything. That game, and then obviously in 2001 when
Georgia. The 2003 Georgia.
Well, I was going to say Tennessee 2001 SEC championship when no one gave LSU a shot. Rohan gets knocked out. Dominic Davis or LeBrandon Tofield gets knocked out.
That's right.
And Rohan joked that week they had come up with some quarterback draws along the goal line that they were going to run for Rohan. And I think even in practice, Jimbo's like, this looks terrible. This looks hard because he just looks so awkward.
Clunky.
Yeah, right. And then so he said, when Matt Malk ran them touchdowns, that was supposed to be mine. One of those supposed to be mine.
Well, Jacques, you were probably there.
I was not. I was watching on TV.
No. You were probably there in September when they went to Knoxville. It was the week after September 11th. The week after September 11th, they called the Auburn game off, and they didn't play that one. They went to Knoxville the next week, and Michael Clayton caught his first career touchdown at LSU in that game, and then Rowe and Josh Reed went off in the second half. If you remember, Demetrius Hookfin couldn't guard Kelly Washington.
14 catches.
I think he had something. He just ate him up. It was a nightmare type game where, I mean, Hookfin probably saw him in his sleep. I mean, it was nightmare stuff. But they figured that out the second time they played him. And then I guess, like the Rohan to Malk, in-game type of switch. They just weren't ready for it.
They were not ready for
They were not ready for that.
The draw plays and everything. And Rohan said our defense just shut them down, second half. They didn't get anything. I still remember, Andrew Whitworth and they had the roses in their mouths after the game because Tennessee was going to go to the –
And they were holding the SEC. They were stealing them off. They were ripping them off the side of the field, and they were holding them up.
Trev Falk running with the LSU flag across the field.
It was a magic.
Once again, not spoiled. Everything was just fresh and new and great. That was a great time. Then Rohan throws for I think 448 in the Sugar Bowl against Illinois that night. So
they scored every time you looked up.
Yeah,
every time you looked up, they were scoring.
Dominic Davis was a step ahead of everyone that night on that turf. But yeah, and so that game, and then there was some look. I interviewed T-Bob Baber about the 2010 game, and every soundbite's gold on that. I don't know how I'm going to get through it all, but certainly one of the biggest manna from heaven games ever. This reporter right here, not his finest hour at the press conference on
the Monday.
On the Monday afterwards.
I remember, JD, I was sitting right next to you.
Yeah, no, well, I was too jacked up on pre-workout supplements and caffeine or something.
His voice was cracking.
My voice was cracking.
You were talking to Les.
I was 34 going on 14 at that moment or whatever it was.
But you know what, Jacques? You were the only one that it was the elephant in the room. It was the huge elephant in the room because Miles got to that Monday press conference as if nothing was wrong.
We won.
Right? Like it was, what a game.
Yeah.
The Tigers pull it out at the end. Remember in the post game in the stadium when he's like ranting, he goes, and Sam Montgomery is hurt. And everybody's like, what?
Okay.
But he got in Monday morning and he gives his spiel. He gives his opening thing. You've seen this, right? Like you've seen the opening kind of monologue.
Yeah.
And Miles the whole time is like, rah, rah, rah. You know what I mean? Just dumbass. You know what I mean? And they're like, open it up for questions. And JD, it leads off the top of, and we've all been there if you've been in this business where you've got the microphone and you're like, all right, I'm going to do this. And he was trying to set up, and he would ask the question and then answer his question, then ask the question, then answer the question. And then you said, do you feel the disconnect between you and the fan base? It was like that. Like, do you feel?
The Baton Rouge Daily Advocate the next day described it as a 30-second diatribe that never morphed into a question. I'll never forget it. And I said something like, Coach, I don't know how to explain this, but there's a disconnect. There's a disconnect between you and the fan base. You're elated. They're all upset. I said, there's nothing but to explain but blind luck, you winning that game.
That's exactly.
I said blind luck.
He said blind luck in the answer.
Yeah.
Because remember, he said something about blind
luck and something like, and then he gave me one of these, he gave me one of these, what do you, and then he said, is there a question in there? And,
that's right, he did.
Yeah, and then some of these people,
and
look,
arms crossed, staring at you.
And then look, it was out of line. It was unprofessional, wrong tone. But the one thing that was bogus about it was saying the people had said, "Well, you never ask a question. You didn't ask a question." I'm like, dude, all the time people say, "So, Coach John Emery really looked good out there." Yeah, you're right. He hit. That happens all the time.
Absolutely.
Don't try to post me up about not asking a question.
Right.
Now, look, my tone and everything was wrong, and it was not my finest hour, like I say. But
save that for the Tiger droppings. That's
exactly. Somebody had told me, I think, give them hell, Jacques. When I left I took that to heart way too much.
In the mirror, tightening the tie. I'm gonna get his ass today.
And then the next week against Florida, you can't make this stuff up.
I know,
some guy throws an oval football over his shoulder. The thing bounces straight up.
Didn't go forward.
Yeah.
It didn't go. He threw it backwards.
Threw it backwards over his head. The old Colt David. And it bounces straight up, and then they get the first down. They look at it for 15 minutes, it feels like, at Florida, and they get the first. I'm like, how is this guy doing this?
It's unreal.
How is Les Miles doing this? And it was crazy because I remember at the time when I did that the Tennessee press conference, I'm getting a lot of emails. Thank you, thank you. And then the next year they start 13-0 or whatever, and some guy comes up to me at Ole Miss and says, "You're that guy that disrespected our coach." We're going retroactive now.
Right.
Now that he's on the upswing.
Right.
So, but anyway, Avery Davidson, former bass player of Soundbite. And the stupid little band that we did and stuff, the talented band and the real bad lead singer, that was me. But
That was your band?
that was we.
I gotta see footage.
Han Solo said everyone has delusions of grandeur. That was me back then. But Avery Davidson, the former anchor, made me a T-shirt of Les Miles, and it had a cartoon bubble, and it said, "Is that a question?"
No.
He gave it to me.
That's so good.
And later, I texted to Coach Miles, and I said, "I hope we can laugh about this now." And he's like, "Ha ha ha." Honestly, I don't want to say he didn't remember it, but I'm not sure if he did.
Probably not. Probably not.
It's a big moment in my life, maybe not yours.
What am I even looking at, Jacques? Thank you as always. Big golf tournament coming up at the end of the month. Right?
Yeah, I encourage everyone out there. Jordy will be there. We're doing a celebrity golf tournament to replace the celebrity softball game. It's going to be at Santa Maria on October 29th. That's the LSU bye week. We got a great list of people coming. If you go to redrockandblue.com, you can see the list. And so you register a team of 3, and you get paired up with one of the celebrities to make a scramble of 4. So hopefully the weather will be great, and we need some teams to sign up. So please check it out, redrockandblue.com. You can buy a whole sponsorship, and all that stuff is there.
Good to see our friend as always, Jacques. He is off today and tomorrow. Be back on the desk Friday wearing his pink. Check him out, Red Rock and Blue. As always, we'll talk to him every Wednesday here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Thank you, man. Good to see you.
Always a blast.
We'll be back. More of the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Do you suffer from chronic dehydration? Are you looking to improve your athletic performance and you need to get over and see our friends over at GoFlow IV? They're located on Jefferson Highway. Easy to find them online at GEAUXFlowIV.com. Make sure and use the promo code Jordy Culotta Show. If you do, they'll take 15% off of your initial visit. Check them out online, GEAUXFlowIV.com.
I was excited to come to a top level program. I've been at a lot of great places, been very fortunate in my career, but to really say that you have an opportunity every year, once we get it rolling, to win a national championship, there's not very many places that you can say that. So for him to offer me the opportunity to come with him to LSU was nothing but humility and gratitude. Some Sunday players in that room. But again, it's got to be the total package, the total process of buy-in, of understanding what we're trying to get done, of figuring out how we want it to get done, but also allowing those guys to be able to play with instincts. For example, I think Jay Ward is long and athletic. He's very versatile. He's played corner, played nickel, played safety. Very excited about Joe Fouché, one of the transfer guys that we came in because he has a dimension of physicality. Major Burns. Fortunate enough that he was able to come back home. Again, he's long, he's athletic, so he gives you flexibility between both field and boundary safeties. And then you've got some guys that you can throw in like Brooks, Sage, Derek Davis. Todd Harris is a guy that's been around for a while. So I think that we have enough in that room to be successful. But again, you still want to continue to grow and be able to push it.
Yeah, well, I think it starts here, and we have a good bit of people on this particular staff who are from Louisiana, who know and believe in our hearts that this place produces the best football players in the country, and I think the numbers speak for themselves. Per capita, produce the most NFL players, you know what I mean? So even from an analytical standpoint, it makes sense to take the kids from here because the chances of them playing in the league are higher than if they come from anywhere else. Yeah. I think our brand is super powerful, so we will have to recruit at a national level, or there's really no reason that we shouldn't, you know what I mean? Because if we can get a top player from another state who can help us win a championship, then of course, right? But I think it starts right here in Louisiana and then right here in Baton Rouge. There's some really good players who are still available that are right here in Baton
Rouge. Best athlete to come out of New Iberia, Mark Roman?
Kayshawn Booter.
Kayshawn? Wow.
right now, Kayshawn, and Mark was a little bit before me. I was a ball boy when Mark was playing at New Iberia Senior High School. I played like right after Mark, but Kayshawn has done some things, and just the things that you guys are seeing Kayshawn do, that he's not even scratching the surface of what we saw on a day-to-day basis at practice. And he's unreal. He's unreal.
He's so natural. It's so so easy. It looks so easy to him.
Yes, it's so easy, and there's never been another a competitor I've ever seen like Kayshawn. Kayshawn would not lose going to eat pregame meal. He has to be the first. He is the ultimate competitor. He would not lose. So trust me, he will be ready.
About the mail for you all day, okay? I gotta go up to his office. I gotta put his mail in the guy's goddamn hands.
But they've been asking for their mail on a daily basis. It's all they're talking about up there.
Because the mail never stops. It just keeps coming and coming and coming. There's never a let up. It's relentless. Every day it piles up more and more and more, and you gotta get it up. And the more you get out, the more it keeps coming in. And then the barcode reader breaks, and it's published. It's clearing out. All right.
I can't believe I'm gonna be a mailman.
Jesus Christ.
All right, welcome back here to the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Make sure and check us out on social media at Culotta Show. You can catch up with everything that we got going on here. We mentioned Dawn of a Legacy, our in-depth look, behind-the-scenes look, documentary looking at Woodlawn and Zachary High School football game that'll air that will go live tomorrow night. That game will. Our production will be live on October 20th. We'll tell you where to find it. All of that presented by Bank of Zachary, our friends over at Bank of Zachary, Mark Marino and his great team over there. Incredible to see the way that they are growing, man. They've got a branch going to St. Francisville. I think they've got a branch in Central. Bank of Zachary is always supporting what we're doing over here, and we appreciate them, Mark Marino and the crew. All right, your voicemail, your takes inside of the chat. You can call us, 225-229-7741. I'm trying to think. What's the name of this segment?
Mailbag?
Mailbag.
Wait, what?
What are we doing?
Happened? Did you just have a stroke?
Well, I was thinking of the voicemail. You got me. All right. Leave me alone, for God's sakes. How many voicemails do we have over there?
We got 4.
All right, let's go. Start us off.
What's up, fellas? How y'all doing? This LSU Green Man out of Mobile, Alabama.
Oh, we're getting a call. These take precedent.
Have a take, don't suck. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Jeff and Kenner, boys and girls.
Yeah.
What's up, Jeff?
Hey, Katie, you looking mighty good in that pink, and shame on you guys for not wearing
Jeff.
your pink. Man, come on.
You knew I'd be the only one.
Come on. Well, hey, you know what? This whole Daniels thing, what I see, just from my perspective, is that they're not setting him up for success because obviously he's tentative throwing the ball. And what drives me nuts is if you watch the game, and I know, Jordy, you've made this comment, Besh open on quick hits, Neighbors open, they're just not putting him in a position to succeed. And I think that's the biggest problem is that they're running these longer routes. Like you made a comment, JD, and Jacques made the comment, they're running these long posts and flags to booty, and they're just. I think they need to adjust that, and I hope that is what we're going to see. What are y'all's thoughts on that?
I agree. No, we talked about it. Even with Kayshawn, to get him involved early on. It's simple throws around the line of scrimmage. It's not pushing the ball down the field, waiting for things to develop.
Right.
Just easy. In the shotgun, catch the snap, one step, set your feet, and get rid of the ball. It's not. It's not as if you got to wait for these routes to develop and people to get open and things to get to spots. You're not dealing with those types of athletes. I agree with you, and I think that you should see that in the first 15 plays.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with y'all a little bit too about everybody saying, "Oh, we got to throw the ball because Tennessee's got this horrible pass defense." Yes and no. We can't. Look, if JD continues to struggle throwing the ball and we get in these third and longs and all, we give the ball back to Tennessee. I think personally they need to ram the ball down Tennessee's throat because they have been uber successful running the ball the last 2 games, and it's fun to watch. And I think that sets up the pass. So guys, hey Jordy, do me a favor, and Lloyd, can y'all put up the information about that golf tournament so that I can research that too?
Yeah,
appreciate
absolutely.
you guys.
Thank you,
man.
Thanks, Jeff.
That'll be Red Rock and Blue coming up at the end of the month. Let's get back to that voicemail. Lizzie, what we got?
Let's see. My face doesn't register on this phone.
Weird.
It's a shame.
What's up, fellas? How y'all doing? This LSU Green Man out of Mobile, Alabama. Got a question. I know we playing Auburn, and I know it's Wednesday, and I missed. Can you repeat this probably tomorrow, if possible? I'm getting the same vibe as the Florida State game. Everybody's saying how we should dominate them, how they got a new center, how our defensive front is stronger than their offensive line, our cornerback stronger than their receivers, and things like that. It just seems like, even though it's a dumpster fire over there, it's the same kind of talk. So can you elaborate on that, man?
You get to
Appreciate
play.
it.
You get to play Monday morning quarterback. It's about the Auburn game, so you get to play the result.
And he's saying that Auburn is a dumpster fire?
Right. He was saying, comparing it to how this could be more of a Florida State game, where he wasn't almost wrong, where LSU could get behind and have to make he could see LSU losing to Auburn. And now, obviously, it's about Auburn, so you get to just play the result and say whatever you want because LSU won.
Well, I mean, I think that the 7 Banks start to that game had something to go into the way that they were falling behind. I mean, B.J. Ojulari was here yesterday and kind of commented on that situation and just how difficult that scenario was in the present, in the moment, for teammates, friends to pick up and move on. Is that why they were down 17-0? No, I don't believe specifically that's the sole reason. I think that had something to do with it, with the slow start. But yeah, I mean, I definitely think that LSU is not in a situation where we probably build the game up to be, not as close as it actually was, just because of the state of Auburn. I mean, really that was my emphasis of, it didn't matter who Auburn played last weekend. I was going to feel that way about him just because of what we had seen, what was coming out of Auburn. And I think that actually now catches up with them this weekend. This is a terrible spot for Auburn to be in going into Athens on Saturday. You've got a pissed-off Georgia team that has not played well in 2 straight weeks. The national media is starting to cave on them a bit, where 2 weeks ago you were ready to, give them the college football playoff championship trophy, where 2 weeks later you're wondering and asking if they're as good as you thought they were, how good's their effort, what's their energy level, things that make a team easy to motivate if you're a coach, especially somebody like Kirby Smart, who listens to everything and hears everything. So he's going to make sure his team is pristine come Saturday. And Auburn, is just feels like they are sinking more into the abyss the further they get away from making a decision. Voicemail or call?
Call.
What's your name? Where are you calling from? Have a take, don't suck.
Good morning. From Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Oh, nice. Your phone broke up a little bit when you introduced yourself. What's your name?
It's
Detsa?
Umberto.
Oh, Umberto.
Yes, sir.
From Albuquerque, New Mexico. Sweet, man.
Yes,
Appreciate
sir.
you listening. Thanks for calling. What's on your mind?
I am super convinced that Jaden isn't the quarterback, week 5, and he looks too shaky in the pocket. And it's like, he looked fine, but, I mean, against Auburn, we have a perfect pocket, and he just looks scared.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't wrap my mind around it.
He freaks out. I think he's got a little bit of that panic syndrome when he hits his back foot, and he either doesn't see someone open or he is just thinking, I got to get out of here. There is a sense of very uncomfortable uneasiness to what he just looks like back there. So I'm with you, and that's why I'm a little anxious on whether or not you can really change that, especially in a week. If that's what you looked like on Saturday in a football game, odds are the next Saturday you can make some changes, but polarizingly, you're not going to be that much different. And for what LSU needs from him, he's got to be very different than what he has been up to this point. It seems simple just to say, hey man, throw the ball, let it go, pull the trigger. it's another thing to get out there, see it, be in the fire, and actually do it. So I'm with you. I think this weekend will tell a lot of the future of that position and just how stable it is, because I believe that the leash is shorter than we think on Saturday. I think that Brian Kelly knows for them to have a chance to win, he's got to have a playmaker at the quarterback spot. And if Daniels isn't going to trust his ability to throw it, they'll put the guy in there that may make a mistake.
Right. And, I mean, it would have been fine if it was like week 2, week 3, but, I mean, we're already 5 games deep, so it's like, come on, buddy.
Yeah. No, I know. Yeah, I agree. But, like week 5 into a football season, if you're looking at somebody consecutively and they're the same every week, that's just kind of that's who they are. That's who they are. Thank you for listening, man. Thank you for listening.
You guys.
You got it. All right, we appreciate that. Albuquerque, New Mexico, here on this Wednesday morning. Remember, you can dial us up, 225-229-7741, 225-229-7741 is the phone line. Have a take, don't suck. And we encourage you to introduce yourself. Tell us where you're calling from. You got a voicemail over there?
Yep, we got one lined up.
Good morning, guys. This is T-Ray from Kentucky. Yeah, my question is, why has LSU always struggled with quarterback play? With the amount of talent that we always get, other than 2019, and no, I don't expect Joe Burrow every year, but why have we always struggled with that one position? All right, thanks, guys.
Yeah. T-Ray, I think it's a question that has plagued and haunted LSU for 15 years. But to me, I think the overriding explanation on it has just been evaluation. Like, when they have looked at that position, they have never had an idea of what they've wanted. For every Jordan Jefferson that they recruited, they would come back the next year, or for every Jarrett Lee that they recruited, they would come back the next year and recruit a Jordan Jefferson. For every Chris Garrett, look him up, out of Tupelo, Mississippi, who was a top 50 quarterback when he was coming out, was a pro-style guy, they signed Ryan Perrilloux in the same class, who was more of a dual threat type of quarterback. What I'm saying is they were trying to bring guys in. Russell Shepard was in that Chris Garrett class. I know that he signed as an athlete, but he was a quarterback in high school. He never took a rep under center when he got to LSU. I mean, the evaluation of the position and not having a clear idea of how to recruit it. Just going out and getting the same type of player every year, where you could build an offense around and say, hey, we're putting you into a system that your style, your skill set fits, and we're going to develop you. That way, by the time you get to your redshirt sophomore year, your second year, down the line, you're going to be prepared to play. LSU routinely would run into problems because they would have an offense tailored for Jarrett Lee, then they would have a quarterback controversy and want to play Jordan Jefferson, and that offense that had been implemented and installed didn't fit his skill set. So they had to work backwards on trying to find what works for him and installing that, asking everybody around that player to change the way and style that they play. And by the time you get it to a place where you feel comfortable with it, the season's over or the eligibility's run out on Jefferson. And now you've got to start that process all over again with guys that you have not developed, have not had in the system, and you're asking them to really save your season, save a game, do something that they are not ready to do. And LSU either broke the confidence or didn't have the right fit at that position for the better part of 15 years. And really, they fell ass backwards into Joe Burrow. Right? I mean, outside of a connection of Bill Bush, who's on the Nebraska staff now with Mickey Joseph, being your safeties coach, Bush and Jimmy Burrow spent time together coaching on Nebraska's staff, oddly enough, when they were together. And that was kind of the end line of, hey, I got a relationship up with this quarterback who's in the transfer portal at Ohio State. well, let's go get him. You know what I mean? Like, it was very like, okay, yeah, let's do it. And outside of that, they've just not been able to evaluate, look at a player and say, that's the fit, that's the style that we want to play with, right? I mean, you know the story. Dak Prescott came to LSU's camp, and Les Miles legitimately told him and his brother that they were going to make him a tight end. I mean, like, he was like, fuck you, man. Like, what do you mean, make me a tight end? I could potentially be a first-round draft pick as a quarterback. And they just didn't know what they were looking at. They didn't have an idea of what they wanted. They didn't know if they saw it, that was the guy that they needed. And once they even got to campus, they did a shit job of developing them and coaching them and teaching them. And every year you would look up and the quarterback position was so far behind every other spot that it didn't matter that you had Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry. It didn't matter that you had all these freak Reuben Randall type players around that position because they just couldn't get it to them. I mean, they didn't have the development, the teaching, the coaching, or they were the wrong player at the position just because LSU was so desperate to recruit quarterbacks, they would take anybody that would say yes. I mean, really. I mean, I hate to state it like that, but I mean, they were banging the first chick at the bar that winked at them. You know what I mean? Like they didn't go have a good time. I mean, like let's recruit. Let's see. Let's see what style, what type of, what do you want? It was just, hey man, we're desperate. Nobody likes us. Whoever makes eye contact with us, let's get them. And that's where they were for a long time. And it's been a problem for
I mean,
as long as I can remember.
If you don't get Burrow, you're still kind of in that same boat.
Absolutely you are. Absolutely you are. I mean, Burrow was in competition in 2008 with Justin McMillan and Miles Brennan to be the starting quarterback.
2018?
In 2018.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
so
if Burrow doesn't show up, you've got Miles Brennan as a young Miles Brennan, Justin McMillan or Lowell Narcisse as the quarterback in 2018 and 2019. I mean, it's a totally different. It's a totally different movie. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
I don't think you're winning national championships.
No. I mean, you're not the best team of all time. I promise you that. I mean, like I can make that. I said earlier that Ryan Clark was the host of I Am Athlete with that sit down. That is wrong. He's the host of the Pivot podcast.
Yeah, you were immediately called out on that.
Well, I just want to make sure.
It's not your fault that he used to host the.
Yes.
It used to be called I Am Athlete. Now it's the Pivot, and I Am Athlete is in Miami now. So I would say that's an easy one to give you a pass on because it's very confusing.
There'll be no mistakes made here.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Yeah, we got one more voicemail. This is about the Saints. Sweet.
Jordy, this is Jacob Abear from Lafayette, Louisiana. Just want to give a quick shout out to my boy Stu. And my question for y'all is, do you think there's some kind of disconnect going on between Tyrann Mathieu and the Saints? I don't know. It's just something doesn't seem right with him out there right now. Let me know what you think. Thank you.
What was his name again? You just got a shout out, Stu.
Jacob?
An Abear from Lafayette.
Jacob Abear? Yeah,
Okay.
he just called in.
I do see some of the similar things that you're talking about. I mean, one thing that's so endearing about Matthew is his leadership, his personality, the way that he handles himself on the football field. And not to say that he's been disengaged by any means, but I think that there's something. I think that the story personally of what affected Matthew before the season that ultimately took time away from his workplace. I think is kind of carrying, and it was nothing to do with the Saints. It was something that happened, that he was just dealing with. And I think, those types of situations go into scenarios like you're talking about, Jacob, of looking at a player where he just doesn't look like himself. I don't question his effort. I don't question his intent. But I will admit that I definitely thought that he was going to, that leader, that leadership quality that he has that everybody wants to follow. I believe that you will see it, but yes, I am surprised that we haven't seen it up to this point. All right, what's your name? Where are you calling from? Have a take, don't suck.
Hey, Jordy, it's Rick from Franklin, Tennessee. How you doing?
What's up, Rick from Franklin? How are you, buddy?
Hey, man, love the show. Big fan. Regarding Jaden Daniels, I'm as frustrated as everybody else, but if you watch his Arizona State highlights, the guy does not hold the ball more than about 2.5 seconds before he either throws it or runs. And he looked amazing in that hurry-up, quick RPO style of offense. I think we need to either roll him out or do something like that to quit, because he's not comfortable as a pocket passer, in my opinion. What do you think?
100% agree with you. I think that the offense can be more kind to Jaden Daniels by taking reads away from him, cutting the field in half. When they do run him, use the sideline as an outlet to protect himself. I agree totally. I think that there are very easy ways to get a quarterback with his skill set into rhythm early on. And they have to recognize that, of just, letting him find the confidence early on and letting him find that rhythm that he can ultimately begin to play with.
No doubt. I mean, with the weapons we have offensively, Coach Kelly's right. 85 yards passing is not going to cut it against the SEC.
Yeah. No, I agree, man. Thank you for listening up there, Rick.
Thank you.
You got it, man. All right, let's go to the phone lines. We'll keep them open as they continue to ring. 225-229-7741. Did somebody beep in?
Yeah,
during that?
Sugarland's calling right now.
Have a take, don't suck. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
It's Larry calling from Houston.
What up, Larry from Houston? What's on your mind?
My mind is, I think JD, I think Daniels is probably just scared, man.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, of everything about it, he just scared. I mean, to make the play. But people, we got to remember, this is a young team.
Mm-hmm.
And they building for, I like where they headed. I really like where they are headed.
No, I agree with you, Larry. There's definitely positive signs.
Yeah. But you have a good day, man. Have a good weekend, brother.
You got it, bro. Larry from Houston, we appreciate you listening. Hey, look, I'm not going to call anybody scared. I don't think but he's definitely seeing things that he has not seen before. And I think anytime that you see things for the first time, there's going to be a little bit of a shock value to it. And there's a lot of speed. There's a lot of size on an SEC football field that if you have not seen it up close and in person and you see it regularly, there's going to be some cause and effect there. We have somebody?
Yeah, we have a voicemail.
Go ahead.
Hey, Jordy. Hey, Lloyd. It's Barrett up in Shreveport. I was just wondering, where in the world is Jack Besh? He's the most sure-handed, most reliable receiver we got, in my opinion. And we've had drops here lately. Like, he's not even getting touches, much less he's not even getting on the field.
Yeah.
So I don't understand. It almost seems like it's negligence at this point not having him out there. So if you would address that and keep up good work. Thanks.
It is Les Miles' offensive frustration of where is Jack Besh to me, because a lot of the things that we talked about, Larry from Houston talking about Jaden Daniels, Rick from Tennessee who just called about Jaden Daniels, and even our friend up in Shreveport in North Louisiana talking things that can make Jaden Daniels more comfortable and easy to get into the flow of the game, to me, is Jack Besh. Is the sure-handed guy that is going to bail you out and make an hard catch look easy, right? I think the madness of not seeing him on the field, much less getting targeted, to me very much feels negligent. It feels like what could you be looking at that you would say, between all of these football minds and people who understand the game, of keep 80 off the field? And I don't think it's keep 80 off the field. It's more play this other player, and right now it's unfair because they want to play tight ends, and Mason Taylor's the guy that they're playing, and he's a true freshman. But for him to get 11 targets last week, that that doesn't make a lot of sense when guys like Besh are looking for playing time and looking for opportunities, right? Mason Taylor is going to be great, and the time he's logging right now is only going to play. It's only going to pay off for him. But, you know, in the 5th game of his freshman season, when you've got guys around him that are surefire NFL players like Kayshawn, Malik, Brian Thomas, and Jack Besh, I'm okay with Mason Taylor getting 3 targets on Saturday.
You got more than half of the targets.
Just take that 11 and spread those targets out. You know, throw 3 to Besh, throw 3 to Kayshawn. You know, I mean, 2 over to Jeray Jenkins. I mean, it's just that's the type of stuff that I think can work Daniels into a mindset of, let me start pushing the ball down the field. You know, I mean, it's a lot like a basketball player that they tell you when you're not scoring, either get to the rim or make a free throw. It's like you have to see the ball go through the net when you're going through a slump, right? I'd imagine as a quarterback, you got to see the ball caught. You got to feel the ball release from your hand and catch in stride where you're, okay, here we go. Here we go. Let's call that again. You know, I'm feeling good. Let's call that one more time. All right, now I've hit it twice, 3 times in a row. Let's push this thing down the seam a bit and see if we can't put pressure on the back end of this defense. I think, you know, those are some of the things that you have to, you have to start to almost force if you're the play caller. You know, like you've almost got to say, all right, first 5 games, we let you stay back here and get comfortable. I'm going to have to cause you to be a little uncomfortable today. You know, in the first, second, or, you know, first series or 2, we're going to have to take some things that you've seen in the past that you've not wanted to do, and you're going to have to cross over today, man. You're going to have to take a step. You're going to have to get better. You're going to have to grow today. And they're going to help you out. The coaching staff needs to help you out, but you know, you have got to do this now. You know, like, you've got to throw the ball. And from a coach, you've got to tell him, like, if you throw a pick, you're not going to be benched. It's okay. If you turn it over, we'll live with it. You don't want to make a habit, but you understand what I'm saying. What's your name? Where you calling from? Have a take, don't suck.
What's going on?
What's good, man? What's good?
This is Clint from the past.
I know who it is, cuz. I know who it is. How's the fence repair business?
We burning them trout up right now, man.
I bet y'all are, bro. Where's your old lady?
She's working, man.
Somebody got to pay the bills, right?
Shit, I'm paying them bills too. Them shrimp are running, man. Shit.
It's got to be a beautiful day down in South Louisiana, man. Fish are biting. Wind. What's the temperature down there?
I ain't seen it like this in years, man. The water's up. Now you see fish jumping out the water. There's bait scattered everywhere, man. Shit, I cleaned a bunch of speckled trout Sunday morning. Let my wife take a little nap, fried them up, and served them up to her, man. Right out the water, man. Delicious.
Nice.
What's on your mind, cuz?
2 questions for you, my man. I know Mason Taylor gets a lot of catches.
Mm-hmm.
What about maybe Jack Besh playing a little bit of tight end, maybe throwing some of them passes his way?
Agreed.
And I know y'all been in some of the practices. Just me watching Jaden Daniels. Does he even have the arm talent to throw them deep passes? Because I wonder, Chris Hilton, he even had to stop and fall down to catch the ball. And I know y'all seen some of the practices. Does he have that arm talent to even throw all them deep passes?
That's a good question.
I don't know, man. That's just 2 questions I want to throw by you, man. Y'all have a good day. What's up, Lloyd, Stewie, and Katie? How y'all doing?
Yes, sir.
All right,
Send that
cuz.
trout this way.
That's right, man.
And a fence post.
Oh, man. I'm fix y'all up, man. I'm still waiting on my package from Katie and shit.
It's en route. I got the notification. It should be there today or tomorrow, I think.
I mean, it's going to the end of the
y'all have
earth,
a
bro.
good day.
No doubt it's
All right,
going
later.
to
We'll
the
see you.
box.
Maybe Besh at tight end could be the answer to get him involved a little early. I know that they were talking about moving him back to wide receiver permanently in the offseason and wanted to do. You know what? I don't know if I can answer that question honestly. If Daniels has the arm strength to make these deep throws,
You've seen some stuff from Arizona when he was at Arizona State where he was able to pretty much throw it as far as you need to throw it. You know, he can hit. He was hitting like those moon balls, kind of like Russell Wilson style. But I don't know if so much. I don't think it's so much arm strength as it's confidence and laying it out there. I really do think there is merit to him just turning it over a couple of times. Like, putting up some 50-50 balls and seeing one come down the other way. But it's like, it's not the end of the world. You'll be fine. You're not going to go perfect all year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tennessee's best DB got hurt last week.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean Tennessee is the ultimate get right game. If you are struggling to throw the ball, and you see Tennessee on the schedule next, you got to be thinking, all right, here's our chance. I mean,
Home game at 11 a.m. They're gonna be a little sleepy.
This is your chance, man. All right, appreciate everybody for being involved. We good over there? You got anything else?
We got one more. We have a missed call from Cordell, so I always like to get to him. I'll give him a shout back.
Yo,
what's good?
What's good, bro?
What's up? What's up? I was actually just about to text you guys, but to piggyback off of Clint about Jack moving to tight end, I was thinking since BK and Mike D, if they want to keep two tight ends on the field, sometimes at least have Jack as one of them.
I agree with that. I mean, I don't know why that hasn't been an option because he said it so much of the personnel package that he would like to be the majority of the time is with the tight ends on the field. Then make him not ultimately make him a tight end, but just in those sets, put him in that spot.
Yeah, and like with Kayshawn, I will move him all around the field.
Me too.
In and out of the slot, and have him work the middle of the field where he's had all his success, really.
Yeah. Remember how they used Jamar his sophomore year? I would use him they put him everywhere.
Running back.
They would put him at running back. They would put him inside. They put him outside. That's, to me, the type of player that Kayshawn is. You just got to find ways to get him the ball.
Yeah, because leaving him out there at the numbers, he's going to get bracket coverage every time.
Every time.
So it's not helping Jaden either. So they gotta work Kayshawn around every spot on the field.
I agree, man. Good to hear from you, bro.
All right, man.
I'm getting Besh that gear this week. I talked to him.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you, Cordell Music, checking in. Who we missed from?
Let's see.
This will be the last one.
Somebody from Franklin.
There you go, bro. Hometown love, Stewie.
We'll represent it.
Hang on.
Hey. What was going on there? You trying to change it over to Bluetooth?
Yellow.
Hey. What's going on? What's going on over there?
What's good, Jake?
You tell me. What's on your mind?
Oh, man. Totally on the obvious is the quarterback room and the wide receiver room and all that good stuff. But how about these penalties? I mean, if we don't knock these penalties down, then everything else is pointless. I mean, we're constantly having returns called back. We're constantly having plays on third downs called back for penalties, pre-snap penalties. I mean, it's way out of hand to be in this late of the season and seeing a pre-snap penalty like you're snapping the ball prior to your guy getting set on the motion.
Yeah, I agree. And look, that's on the quarterback.
10 for 94.
I'm looking up total stats. Thanks for the call, man. Have a great day.
Later, bro.
Yep. Look, I agree with what he's talking about when you're talking about penalties and what it means to, getting moving. Like that we're talking about. LSU's offense needs rhythm. That's what they're missing. They're missing that constant rhythm of just consistency, playing in front of the chains, going from 1st and 10 to 2nd and 6, playing 3rd and 3 to 1st and 10, 2nd and 4 to, 3rd and 1 to 1st and 10. Just staying in front of the chains and catching a rhythm where everything feels so forced. Everything feels so clunky. And even in that sense, Jacques brought up an analogy from Hannegriff, and Hannegriff is the best at that, where he can relate a scenario to something that's easy for you to, kind of understand and just kind of put it in place and make it all make sense. And I heard Hannegriff the other day talking about the drops at wide receiver, and he was he was comparing that to when he called a lot of baseball. Hannah Griff used to be play-by-play for LSU baseball for years. 15 years he was on the call with Jim Hawthorne before they got Chris Blair. But he would talk about how, when you had a pitcher who was moving at a slow pace, that you were more likely to see defensive errors being made behind that pitcher because the pitcher was kind of working out of rhythm. So the players behind the pitcher, you're kind of waiting back there. You take your hat off, you kick the dirt, you're looking down, you eat another piece of gum, you're popping bubbles, you're chewing sunflower seeds. You're not engaged in the game at all times. When he starts his windup, I get in my ready position. I try to field the ball. But in between those snaps, in between those pitches, I'm not as dialed in. It's a comparable analogy to a wide receiver in an offense that doesn't have that rhythm of play, right? Yeah. Should Malik have caught that crossing pattern the other night? Should Brian Thomas have caught that route on the sideline? Could Kayshawn should have caught hell yeah. They should catch those balls. But in the offense that LSU's running, where it's just everything is so difficult, everything feels like it's struggling to move. You're not as engaged. You're not as checked in. That's not an excuse, but I think it's just it's almost kind of the human element of sports, right? Where you're telling these guys, hey, even though you're not getting it, you got to stay involved. You got to stay checked in. Because it's going to come your way, and when it does, you got to make the play. And I think that goes with the penalties too. Where everything is just, it's clunky. One person, you're a half step off. You're one step off there. You're a little late here. Illegal block because you just missed it by a hair. Right? I mean, it's just all of these things of finding a rhythm. Because one thing I will say is I think they're well coached for even the penalties, even the drops, even the things that don't usually mark well on well-coached teams. I think LSU, now that may be where they're coming from, and to look at this, you're like, wow, but I think that they are thoroughly prepared, and I think that they are thoroughly coached by this staff. So I do believe that they're not being penalized because they're like a poorly coached team. They're not dropping the ball because they're not a poorly coached team. I think you need to evaluate your special teams because it's not taking the necessary steps that you look at and you would say, man, they're making giant improvement each week. They're improving, but not at the pace that you would probably like. And I think at this level, SEC West big-time program with a $100 million budget, those are the things that you look at and ask, truthfully, does this keep us out of championship circle? Because Bama, Georgia, Arkansas, Ohio State, Clemson are using the necessary resources to bring in the personnel, the procedures, the policies that make them championship level every year. And I think that's what LSU's Brian Kelly was brought in to build a consistent championship contender. It's been a hell of a roller coaster ride since 2001, right? You've been at the mountaintop 2003, dip back down, 2007 back at the top, 2011 back at the top, 2019 back at the top. A lot of dips into the valley through that ride while experiencing that high, right? I think Scott Woodward and the LSU administration just want to see this roller coaster just kind of going level at 10, 11 wins, championship contending SEC level every single year. You win the SEC, you get in the game, you're in the national championship discussion. So I think they're well coached. I think that they're trying to find a rhythm, and I think the rhythm would soothe the passing game, and I think that it would help out with the penalties as well. Appreciate you being involved on this Tuesday for the entire team. Carpool Queen's heading out. She is going to be gone for the rest of the week. You will not see her. We appreciate you.
Just 2 days.
Taking care of the pink today as the assignment was handed down by WAFB.
Taking care of the pink.
Oh, no, it sounds weird.
That does sound weird.
Sounds like something you should do on your own time.
It does. It definitely
I'm
sounds
sorry, I did not mean to
private.
make that weird.
It sounds very private and personal.
But thank you for wearing pink today, Katie.
You're welcome.
When we were told to wear pink
You're
by
welcome.
corporate America, and we bucked as well.
Back the pink.
Yeah, right. Like, share, comment. We'll be back with you tomorrow morning.